Hello everyone. Welcome to this presentation which is talking about decision making, the first part of the concept. So we will talk about what does decision making means, why do people usually need to do this kind of analysis which we call it the decision analysis. We will talk about the general information about the decision making process, and we will have some live applications or live examples about the decision-making problems. So let's start with what we mean by decision-making. So we usually have this kind of situation when we have to select between more than one option, or if we have, let's say, if we have two options or more to select between them. So in this case, we have to make our decision based on our needs, our ability, and the feasibility of that option. So in this case, we can say that decision making, or what we call it DM, is the study of identifying and choosing alternatives based on the values and the preferences of the decision maker. We can also define the decision making as the process of selecting the best option from different alternatives that best fit the person's or people needs. So the important point here to put in consideration is that it's not the optimal solution, it's the best based on the people needs or requirements. So it's the idea of taking this or that, doing this or that, doing this or not, which is in this case, do as an option and don't do or do nothing as a second option. So making a decision implies that there are alternative choices. There is more than one option to be considered. And in such a case, we want not only to identify as many as possible of those alternatives, but to choose the one that is best fit with our goals, objectives, desires, values, and so on. Again, it's not the optimal solution or the optimum solution. It's the best fit based on our needs or our objectives and so on. Why we usually do decision analysis? The main point of doing this kind of analysis is to solve decision problems, either complex or simple ones, to address important decisions in the formal manner, and to select again the best option that fits the people, or let's say that the stakeholders' needs by using decision analysis principles and tools. In addition to that, the decision analysis helps to identify the decision stakeholders. So based on that, we will think first about who is involved in this kind of analysis, who is related to this decision, who will be affected by or affecting this decision as stakeholders. It also helps to identify the goal and the objectives of the decision, what we are working for, what we are trying to solve for as a problem. In addition to that, it helps to identify the needs or the requirements. What are the factors affecting this kind of decision, or what exactly we need from this kind of situation or this problem, either a complex problem or a simple problem. It helps to identify the alternatives, or let's say that the possible solutions for solving this problem. So when we talk about decision making, we can talk about it in two different levels, the personal level and the organizational level. When we talk about it from the personal level, we can divide it by two categories, either to be by person or by group. So let's say that it's a decision problem in a personal level made by a person, or it's in the first category, which is the personal category or by person category. It's similar to something that you will decide about. It's your decision about your lunch today. It's your decision to go to that trip or not. So in this case, it's a personal decision on a personal problem. On the other side, we can find a personal decision or a personal problem that is made by a group. So in this case, it's something like your trip, either to go to this trip or no, but the decision will made by your family in addition to you. It's not only you. So in this case, it's a personal decision-making problem decided by a group. So we talked about the personal level from two perspectives or two types of decision makers, by person or a group. It's the same situation if we are talking about the organizational level. So in the organization or in big companies, you may find the CEO usually give the decisions, make the decisions regardless of the perspective of his employees, for example. So in this case, it's an organizational decision problem and the decision made by a person. On the other hand, if it's in the organizational situation, like the manager want to decide either to open a new branch for the company or not, but instead of just making his personal decision, he asked a committee to make a decision. So in this case, it's a decision for an organizational problem made by a group. And another example of for this situation is the Congress decision in the US, which is usually a group decide about a situation that is related to an organizational level, not a personal level. So from the previous talk, we talked about the type of the decision problems, either to be a personal problem or an organizational problem. And also, we can talk about it from the perspective of the simplicity of that problem. Is it a simple problem or a complex problem? And again, it could be a simple problem and the decision made by person, similar to your decision to get the best car for you, or it's a simple problem made by a group, like the family decision about selecting the best house for them to move to. On the other side, we can have more complex problems, which also could be done, or their decision could be made by a person, similar to the CEO decision about the best process workflow, or a complex problem that is made by a group similar to the Congress decision about best fuel resources for the country, for example. So in this case, again, we can divide the simplicity of the problem to two categories, the simple and complex. And those two types could be made, or those decisions could be made by either a person or a group. So when we talk about the examples, we will have different examples about those. But before that, let's talk about the decision-making process in general. So the process in general starts by setting the objectives, what you want to achieve, what you want to solve, what is the problem that you want to solve by achieving certain objectives. And after that, we already identified the problem and the things that we need to achieve as the objectives. So we will move to the second step, which is setting the alternatives. What is the range of feasible options? What are the feasible solutions for this problem? After that, we will move to create the model, which is basically the simulation of the decision process, or we can say that it's the decision-making matrix. It could be done manually, it could be done using different tools, different techniques, and it could be done using softwares as well. One of the softwares that, or the easiest softwares that we can create the model on is Microsoft Excel, which we will talk about in the following videos. After creating the model, so we need to conduct the analysis, run that model, exercise the model, or we can say that it's the process of solving the problem using one of the decision-making techniques. Based on that, you will have a result. But what if any of the factors changed? What if any single unit of one of the, or let's say that one of the data points that we built our decision on changed, or it has a range instead of constant value? So in this case, we may have another result if that change happened. To study that, we have to do what we call it the sensitivity analysis, which is basically determining what really matters. Or we can say that it's answering the what if questions. And based on that, we will make our final recommendation for the best option for this problem, or we will make the decision at the end. So this process is basically could be called as the trade studies. Trade study provides an objective foundation for the selection of one or more approaches for the solution of an engineering problem. There is different ways to accomplish the trade studies, but they all have some common characteristics, which is there are a set of minimum objectives that need to be achieved. It could be one, but most of the time it's a set of objectives. There are at least two alternatives that satisfy these objectives, or we at least have two feasible solutions. We want to make our decision between them or to select one of them. If we have only one alternative, so no need to make the decision process or analysis because we have to follow that option and that's it. All the different trade studies ways or techniques should be based on a created model, or let's say matrices, for evaluating the alternatives. The needs or the requirements, which we can call it as the factors, has different weights, where each one of them is reflecting one of the needs. And finally, all those different ways should use a specific technique that is about ranking and scoring the data, make the analysis to select the best option out of them. We have to remember that the main purpose of the decision analysis is to yield insights and understanding about the decision problem, rather than to impose an optimal solution, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So basically, we are looking for what is the right answer for any problem. Let's say that we have to select between different cars. The problem is to get the best car for you as, let's say, a college student who want to get a ride every morning from your house to the university. So you have three options: Kia, Sportage, or the Ford pickup truck, or the BMW. Which one of them is the best? Again, it's not in general. It's not the optimal solution. What is the best of them for your needs and based on your capability? So in this case, the more important thing here is the process, not the answer. If you have the right process to make your decision, you will get the right option based on your needs. So when we talked about the different types of decision-making problems, we said we have some simple problems, some complex problems. So simple problems similar to what is the best car, similar to the previous example, or the best house for the family, the best school for you to finish your bachelor degree or master's degree or doctoral degree or so on. What is the best major for you based on your skills and your needs? What is the best job offer between different job offers that you got after graduation? What is the best restaurant to have your lunch in today? What is the best coffee shop to go sit, relax, and study, and so on? Those are what we call them usually as a simple problems. On the other hand, more complicated problems which may affect a bigger range of people, which may have a bigger impact on the personal life, are what we consider as complex problems, similar to the best facility size, which is in this case should be a facility size for this new production line that should be with the lowest cost possible, the most efficient location, the best logistics, and so on. So in this case, it's not a simple problem to get a new car or new house or just to decide which school to go on. It's like a lot of money that you're going to spend on this new facility or the right size of this facility. What is the best process workflow, which is in this case should be with a minimum time, the maximum production with the highest quality, with the lowest number of workers or manpower. So in this case, again, it's a complex problem. It's the same way for the best fuel resource, which again should be with the lowest cost and the most efficient, for example, and definitely the most available one in the country. Or the best system to select between for new HR system for your organization, or new financial system for the company, or something like that. So all of those are complex problems which usually have a lot of factors, a lot of decision makers, a lot of stakeholders involved in this decision problem. So by the end of this video, here is the list of the references that I used to get the information related to this video, and this list will be available in the video description for those who are interested. Thank you very much.